going on, YouTube? Tom here. Today, I wanted to make another video kind of relating to American cars. Let's talk V8 stuff. Well, I guess not all V8s, but definitely got some V8s involved. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about a car that competes very closely with the car I own right here. See, I of course own a Mustang GT, and this car's now #1 competitor is actually the Dodge Challenger. So, if y'all haven't heard, very recently, the Challenger is now in the #2 spot for the best-selling American muscle car. And of course, muscle car is a very debatable term, but, you know, that's the category that the Mustang is lumped into. Let's talk about why I think the Challenger is actually moving into second place. Kind of analyze it, talk about these cars. So a lot of people know the Challenger, the current Challenger design, has actually been around since 2008 versus the Camaro, which just came out for 2016, and then it's now gotten a big-time facelift for 2019. So I think #1 reason the Camaro is starting to lose sales, it's the styling. Aww. I mean, just take a look at it. I think this new 6th gen Camaro, this facelift, it looks downright awful, even compared to the earlier 6th gens. Versus you compare this is the 5th gen, which I didn't like the 5th gen when it came out in 2010, but now I've rapidly begun to change my mind. I think now, in hindsight, the 2010, it looks way better than all of the later versions. I just think that Chevy got it right, and I think they should have stuck with that design a lot more. I think that's the problem that hurts the Camaro sales, is the fact that it's gotten to the point it's not really worth buying looks-wise, versus the Challenger, which I think is a lot more of a handsome design. It's a lot more styled. It's definitely retro versus the Camaro, which is trying so hard to be a new and modern design. I think Dodge, they stuck it out. They know that this is what works. People like this design. Let's not mess with a winner. And of course, the second big reason I think that the Camaro is hurting is its comfort level. Because quite honestly, it's not as comfortable of a car. Now, all the Chevy guys are going to be quick to point out, well, the Camaro, it's the best overall sports car out of the three. Well, that might be true. And that's nice when you have your, dedicated sports car platform, but the problem with it is most people who buy this category of car don't want a sports car. People like me, I wanted a car that was simply fast to drive in traffic. Like, most people are going to daily the cars. They're not necessarily worried about, can I track it? Can I do all this performance with it? They just simply want a car that can make V8 noises in traffic and then looks cool. There's Challenger now. It actually looks pretty good. I have proof that people love V8 noises, because you all love the cold starts, and when I put them in the videos, traffic here today, so I can't really get on this car too hard, but I like to put a little bit of that in every video I make. Just, y'all love it. That's kind of proof that nobody cares about how fast the car is. Everybody wants the sound, especially for V8 buyers, and I'm going off of the V8s here. Not to say that the Camaro doesn't have the V8 sounds. It definitely has the sound, but it's trying too hard to be a sports car and less about that. And the Challengers, like Dodge knows, most people who buy them aren't going to track it. They're not going to take it around a road course. They just want to be, most Challenger buyers just want to be that guy in traffic where you're cruising along, and we've all been around this, where the guy just downshifts and takes off. That's what people want to do. That's what, I'm guilty of that. I do that in this car. They just want that. And I guess another big reason is, if you've ever driven a Challenger, it feels fast. It might not be the fastest, because it might weigh as much as a boat. And I know people try to rip on them for that. But at the end of the day, if you've driven one, they feel like they have a lot of power to give. Now, 2.5 years ago, give or take, I drove a Challenger. And if you had asked me 2.5 years ago, this is long before I ever started YouTube, if you had actually asked me back then what car I would have bought, I would have told you, hands down, actually not even 2.5, actually it was 3.5 years ago, 2015 was when I drove it. November 2015, or it may have been December, it was the Tampa Bay International Auto Show. I drove a Challenger. It was an RT Scat Pack with the 6.4 Hemi. This was back when it was still called RT Scat Pack. Now it's just Scat Pack. And it was the 8-speed auto. And I absolutely fell in love with the car. And if you really, truly had asked me, I would have said, hands down, I would have bought one. Not because it was fast, although at the time I was daily driving my Tacoma, so anything felt fast to me, but it really and legitimately just felt so quick. It broke the tires loose just the right amount. It really gave you that punch in the gut, because Challengers, they're torque monsters. And that's just something the Coyote, no offense to them Mustang buyers, I know I own one, Coyote just doesn't have that same punch in the gut, because it's not as much of a torque monster. Coyote, it's all in the upper end. Camaro, the only time I ever drove a Camaro, it just felt like a dog. I know people will tell me how much faster it is on paper, but when you drive one, they're dogs. It doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. You really have to vlog it to ever get this car to go somewhere. And to me, that's a good reason why the Challenger is going to outsell it, because, like I said, now, then I drove a Mustang and was like, alright, I actually like the Mustang a little bit better. At the time, I drove a manual Mustang versus the other cars were automatics. Because at the Tampa Bay International Auto Show, they assume nobody knows how to drive a manual. And in fact, the story goes with that Mustang that I got to drive, supposedly by the end of the day, because so few people actually knew how to drive it correctly, they burned out the clutch. So I said that was a 1-year only deal, but it kind of, yes, I admit it was kind of why I bought a Mustang. But the Mustang had a little bit more of a balance that I was looking for, with sport, that same really fast feeling, and also comfort. Challengers might be comfortable, but at the end of the day, I wanted something I could do a little more hooning with. Now, obviously, the big one was I was a manual fanboy at the time, and still am. But I was dead set on my next car at the time being a manual. And Challengers, the only real downside of them is their manual option. I've never driven one, but a lot of people who review it have said it basically is like driving a truck gearbox, real heavy clutch. But again, like I said, if you had asked me all those years ago, I would have said, yes, I'm going to buy a Challenger. In fact, if I hadn't been a manual fanboy either, I probably would have bought a ZF 8-speed Scat Pack Challenger, because actually I really do like them. In fact, knowing what I know now about all the problems I had with this Mustang, there's a good chance I personally would have bought a Challenger. I know I let a lot of people try to convince me even to looking at Camaros, and they just never appealed to me. And I think a lot of people are actually in agreement with me. Again, all the Chevy fanboys are all going to try to rip me a new one. They're all going to say, well, who's this guy trying to say the Challenger's better? Well, unfortunately, sales numbers don't lie, guys. Chevy guys, you can say all you want how great the Camaro really is, but fortunately, it doesn't appeal to the masses anymore. I still do love the Mustang despite all of its problems, though. And of course, again, I would love to own a Mustang just because all the people I've met. That's one downside, is you do have Mustang Week, and you do have Camaro Fest. There is nothing for Challengers, so you gotta give it that. You're buying the legacy still with a Camaro that you just don't get with a Challenger. And yeah, as a lot of people will point out, it is the better overall sports car. But overall, I still think that's actually the order it belongs in. I really do think it deserves to outsell the Camaro. But anyway, let me know in the comments section below what you think about all of that. What are y'all's thoughts on the Camaro versus Challenger debate? Do you think it's well worth it, or do you think people are crazy? Anyway, if you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. If you are stopping in for the first time, go ahead and subscribe. I hope to do more awesome content, this car especially, and also keep bringing you all the news and my take on it all. But anyway, take care, have a good day.